Today was not NASCAR's best showing. They sent a driver to NASCAR jail, for goodness sake. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Let's talk about Atlanta. I'm uploading this late Saturday night, just after the Xfinity Series race and the Truck Series race wrapped up. You might be watching this tonight. You might be watching this Sunday before the Cup Series race. You might be watching this, in the year 2030, if this video is still in the YouTube algorithm by then. But tonight's Xfinity Series race left me, and I think many other NASCAR fans, with too many emotions to bottle up overnight. I gotta get this off my chest now. Let me start with this. Austin Hill just won his third race of the season. He's 3 for 5. He has an average finish of 3.2. The guy's on fire. Richard Childress Racing is building him rocket ships week in, week out. He's won both of the drafting super speedway races this year, and the way he controlled the two lanes in the final 20-30 laps of tonight's race, unmatched. No one had anything for Austin Hill. I've never seen such a safe super speedway pick since, I don't know, maybe Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the mid-2000s. Austin Hill should be the favorite to win every super speedway race until proven otherwise. And right now he's the favorite to win the NASCAR Xfinity Series championship. He's on pace to win like 18 or 19 races this year. He's not going to. He's not going to win 19 races, but that's the pace he's setting through the first month of the Xfinity Series season. Hats off to Austin Hill. Ran another fantastic race. Congrats to Richard Childress Racing. I believe this is the second straight top 5 finish for Ryan Truex in that 19 car. He's only making a handful of starts for Joe Gibbs Racing this year. He has to make the most of each and every single opportunity, and he's doing just that. So great run, great job, Ryan Truex. Parker Kligerman got spun by Daniel Hemrick as they crossed the line. Not sure where Daniel Hemrick was going. At least Parker Kligerman ends up with a top 5 finish, even though his 48 car was pretty heavily damaged. Kligerman continues to make noise in that car. He's going to win a race this season, might even win a couple. He's in contention way too often to come up short each and every single time. Still a good top 5. Riley Herbst, I think, has finished top 10 in every single race to start this year, and I know we give Riley Herbst a lot of crap because he's never won, not a truck race, not an Xfinity race, despite almost always being in good equipment. But this year, so far, Riley Herbst has been very consistent. Has kept his nose clean more times than not. Good run for Riley. Cool to see Brett Moffitt get the result. He's with AM Racing this year. Want to see some good performance out of that race team. Josh Berry, I think is he the best finishing JRM car? Sam Mayer got a top 10, good for him, but JRM once again cannot get out of their own way. Allgaier and Berry, teammates, made contact, sent Justin Allgaier to the garage. Got to give my boy Brendan Poole a shout out for the top 15 finish, even though he was caught up in that last lap wreck, which stinks. Anthony Alfredo led laps in that 78 BJ McLeod Motorsports, I think that's the name of the team, entry. Great run for Anthony Alfredo. He's always near the front at these super speedways. It's very consistent. Those are some of your top finishers. I wanted to give some performance shout outs. This is the one beautiful thing about pack racing, about super speedways, is you see some names up near the front in the mix that you otherwise typically wouldn't see. So there you go. Those are your top 15 finishers. Elephant in the room, let's talk about Josh Williams. Josh Williams was sent to NASCAR prison tonight. Had to spend several hours in the NASCAR Xfinity Series hauler. He wasn't allowed to leave. He wasn't allowed to talk to reporters. I think he had his cell phone on him because he did tweet a photo or two. He was stuck in NASCAR jail for hours waiting for Warden Wayne Otten, the competition director for the Xfinity Series, to come chew him out. Because early on in this race, Josh Williams was black flagged by NASCAR. He'd gotten some damage from a previous wreck. He'd come down pit road. The team had tried to put some bear bond on the front nose. A piece of it had fallen off, which extended, or I think caused, a quick caution to come out. NASCAR, to contextualize this moment a bit, was probably frustrated because the first half of this race was full of cautions. Way more caution flag laps than green flag laps. The pacing was atrocious. We'll talk about that more in a moment. So NASCAR, frustrated by yet another delay, decided to enforce a rule that that rarely comes up. At the discretion of the series managing director, if a damaged vehicle elects to not enter pit road on the first opportunity, or if a damaged vehicle exits pit road before sufficient repairs had been made and thereafter causes or extends a caution, for example, leaking fluid, debris, etc., then said vehicle may incur a lap or time penalty or may not be permitted to return to the race. That is how the rule is written. NASCAR decided to park Josh Williams and his number 92 team for that debris falling off and causing a caution. They said, nope, we've had too many cautions. This guy's limping around the track, shedding parts. You're to the garage. They parked him. It was a quick trigger, a very harsh ruling, no doubt. But it was within NASCAR's right. It's in the rule book. Josh Williams, unsurprisingly, did not take too kindly to NASCAR's decision. He did exactly what NASCAR asked. He parked it on the front straightaway, on the start-finish line, in front of the stands, in front of the fans. He got out under caution, I should specify. He's not doing this under green flag conditions. Under caution, he got out on the front straightaway, waved at the fans, waved at the officials up in the booth, up in the flag stand, and walked to pit road. Well, eventually he was escorted to the infield care center and then NASCAR jail, where he was held for several hours. This moment's been going viral. I've seen other professional athletes tweeting about it. It is funny. It's very funny, very amusing. It was the most entertaining part of this race, at least for the first half, to see a driver stick it to the sanctioning body, or show up NASCAR, if you will. Clearly showing, clearly voicing his displeasure. The fans loved it. I think NASCAR fans naturally just love it when you stick it to the man. Anyone who shows them up, especially after a ticky-tack, a rare call. A call, a rule, again, that's in the rule book. NASCAR has the right to enforce it, but it's a rare situation, and it's even rarer that they do choose to enforce it. So this quick trigger was not well received by Josh Williams. I completely understand. And it was probably also not well received by the fans. So I think Josh Williams had a lot of fan support tonight when he chose to park his car, wave at the crowd, wave at the officials, and kind of show up the sanctioning body. As entertaining as it was in the moment, and it may have earned Josh Williams some new fans, probably the most FaceTime Josh Williams has had since he and Dale Jr. had some run-ins on track a couple years ago. But when the dust settles, when Wayne Auten's voice, I imagine, quit ringing throughout the NASCAR Xfinity Series hauler, Josh Williams is going to be owed some sort of penalty. I would not be shocked if there's a very hefty fine. There is past precedence, and it's long ago precedence for NASCAR to consider suspending a driver for such an incident. Just a couple years ago, when Kyle Busch parked his Toyota on pit road at Darlington, he was fined $50,000. We'll see what sort of penalty NASCAR hands Josh Williams, but they more than certainly will hand him an additional penalty, in addition to parking him today. So after sleeping on it, this may come back to bite Josh Williams. I'm not sure if the added publicity is going to be worth the fine. If he's lucky, Denny Hamlin will actually follow through on his promise and will pay Josh Williams' fine, as he tweeted earlier tonight. The cynical side of me just sees Denny Hamlin trying to make another controversy all about him, trying to take the heat off of what he's said, what he's done the past couple of weeks, and trying to be a man of the people once again. Anyway, that's just the cynical side of me. I'm not trying to be a Hamlin hater. This isn't about Denny, as much as he may try to make it about himself. Once NASCAR finally let Josh Williams out of NASCAR jail, he told reporters this, quote, "We all work really hard, right? To only run X amount of laps and have a piece of bear bond fall off and put us out of the race, it's really frustrating. We're a small team. We work really hard. We've got to make our sponsors happy, and it doesn't do you any good sitting in the garage. It is what it is. We'll learn from it and move on." He then said that while he was in the hauler, he was watching the Xfinity race, of course, and was eating pizza. Meat lovers, I believe, he said. He also said he's not sure if there will be any sort of fine or further discipline. My guess is there will be, but I guess we don't know for sure. In conclusion, it's going to be the most memorable moment of tonight's race because there were too many not so memorable moments to count. It's not a good look for NASCAR. They're not going to take kindly to being shown up like that. I completely understand Josh Williams' frustration. NASCAR has the right to make that call, but I don't know, name me another time in recent history where they have made that call. I can't think of one. I understand the first half of this race was not going well for anyone. Everybody was frustrated. It was more caution laps than anything. NASCAR wanted to get the show on the road, and 92 car was slowing that down. So I understand NASCAR being frustrated in the moment. I think they overreacted with the initial call, which is why I think Josh Williams was justified in his frustration. But parking the car on the front stretch, I don't know if that's long-term going to benefit him. Maybe he earned some more fans, some more name recognition, sure, but he might have gotten fined. He might get suspended. We'll see. NASCAR also may look at him differently. You don't know. Might get officiated differently. That's always possible. So I don't know if Josh Williams handled it the best possible way. It was very entertaining. I understand his frustration. NASCAR inconsistently enforcing their own rules. What else is new? Let's talk about the rest of this Xfinity race. Justin Allgaier, after wrecking out, said it was an embarrassing night for NASCAR, for the sport. And yeah, for at least the first half of this race, I wholeheartedly agree with Justin Allgaier. This race was embarrassing. It was hard to watch. I left my TV to go get a pizza because I figured that was more worth my time than the finish. I did keep up with the finish on my phone. I watched the end, but the first half of this race was not worth my time, was not worth your time, was not worth anyone's time. It was terrible. It was embarrassing. This is only the second year of New Atlanta Super Speedway, as we've been calling it, where it's now a pack racing, drafting style track, very similar to Daytona or Talladega. Year 2, and yet the track already seems to have maybe aged to a point where pack racing is more treacherous than it's ever been. Lap 2, Joey Gase gets turned, crash. It's like 8 laps of caution. Lap 12, Garrett Smithley piles into that Kaz Grala, Jeffrey Earnhardt wreck. There's like a 22-minute caution. 22 minutes of caution for a 3-car wreck. It was a big wreck, but like, do we have a skeleton crew on hand for these Xfinity races? How could we not clean this up faster? Anyway, I could continue. Lap 27, Kyle Weatherman, Josh Williams, this is where he got damaged. Jeb Burton, involved in an incident. Couple laps after the restart, you get the debris yellow for Josh Williams. And then lap 40, just a couple laps after that, the stage ends. Another yellow. Again, the first half of this race, far more laps were run under caution. I'm not going to keep reading off incidents. No, I will. Lap 56, Chad Chastain blows a tire. Lap 62, Parker Retzlaff blows a tire. Lap 69, Connor Mozak and Daniel Hemrick involved in a crash. Lap 78, Justin Allgaier gets turned by his teammate. More JRM discombobulation like I talked about last year. Okay, I'm going to stop. I will stop. But the first half of this race, far more caution laps than green flag laps. It was not a good product. Nobody should be proud of what was put on the track tonight. The finish was great. Very thrilling finish. Austin Hill, again, did a masterful job blocking both lanes. Parker Kligerman got to his outside at the very end. I thought he had a shot, and then, he gets turned by Daniel Hemrick, unfortunately. Still a very exciting final few laps. The final run, they didn't wreck. It was a longer green flag run. The end of this race was really good. If you love pack racing, you loved the final, probably 20, 30, maybe even the final 50 or 60 laps tonight. I'm not going to deny that. But a good final 60 laps did not make up for the embarrassing first half of this race. And I think NASCAR, Speedway Motorsports, they have to start asking some questions. Both the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series today set a new track record for cautions for their respective series. Justin Allgaier blamed a number of factors for the more sketchy, treacherous racing. He blamed, lack of grip. The track has aged another year. Allgaier also mentioned some changes to the Xfinity Series aero package. This year, I believe the cars are a little less skewed out. NASCAR took that away. That makes them a little more unstable, especially when they're side by side, when there's someone on your right side door. That perhaps is an Xfinity exclusive issue, but it was very prevalent tonight. But is there anything that can be done to this track? Or does it have to be something we do to the cars? I remember, I think it was Denny Hamlin over a year ago saying that if NASCAR truly wanted Daytona and Talladega style pack racing at Atlanta, they'd need to slow the cars down even more, or maybe increase the banking. That's what's crazy to me, is Atlanta, it's a tighter corner, a tighter turn than Talladega or Daytona, and it's less banking. It's still 28 degrees, more banking than any other intermediate on the track, but it's not comparable to Daytona or Talladega. How do you expect to replicate that racing 5-10 years from now, when the Atlanta surface ages even more? Year 2, and already we're seeing cracks, if you will, in NASCAR and SMI's plan. SMI is the company that owns Atlanta Motor Speedway. They spearheaded this reconfiguration. Year 2, and already we're seeing signs that Daytona and Talladega style pack racing may not be here forever. And if that's the case, you've just built a monstrosity. I don't want to overreact because, again, the second half of tonight's Xfinity race, when they stopped wrecking every 5 laps, it was decent. It did look similar to Daytona and Talladega, and if you like that style of racing, this was a fun finish to watch. But the first half was unwatchable, and I worry that as the years go on, Xfinity will come back here in a few months, I worry we'll see more and more of that, and it's going to ruin Atlanta's goodwill with the fans. And I also bring this up because over at Texas, my old home track, they keep talking about reconfiguring that 1.5 miles. It's also owned by SMI. I hope this weekend causes everyone to pause. Make sure you know what will produce the best racing, not 1 year from now, not 2 years from now, but 5, 10, 15 years from now. If you want more pack racing, you want Daytona and Talladega and more markets, fine. I'll just say the cars can't be as edgy as they were tonight. NASCAR is trying to save the team's money. Cup, Truck, Xfinity Series teams, it's all about cutting costs, making things more affordable for the teams. You wrecked like 20 cars tonight. That's not affordable. That's not saving these teams money. Everyone has to be on the same page. That's all I'm saying. And can we bring back practice? I'm sorry, no practice this weekend? It's a super speedway. The teams don't care. This is a very unique racetrack, a very unique configuration. Every series, 1 hour of practice every single week. I don't care what track it is, standalone event or not, every series that's racing should get at least 1 full hour of practice every single weekend. That's not a lot to ask for. Okay, rant over. I stuffed myself with pizza before I hit record, so maybe I'm not in the right headspace. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. This was a very reactionary, a very emotional episode, but it was an emotional day. 2 straight races, a lot of wrecks, some great moments, but some terrible pacing. I don't think NASCAR should be pleased with the product that we saw today, generally speaking. Back to the drawing board. There is more work to be done. I'm hoping the Cup race tomorrow is a lot better. The cars handle completely differently, so I'm optimistic, for sure. Very optimistic about Sunday's Cup Series race. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like. Thank you so much for watching, and a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters, as always, for your continued and very generous support. I'll see you Sunday night after the Cup Series race. Have a great rest of your weekend, folks. Thanks for watching.